Buenas noches, mamorrianos. Hoy tenemos una noche bastante diferente porque llevo bastante sin hacer desde el año pasado, creo. Hará unos 3, 4 o 5 meses de noche documental. Lo veis en el título. Hoy toca Noche Documental 8. Hoy os traigo dos documentales polémicos. El primero llamado Don't Come Upstairs, que la traducción al castellano sería No subas las escaleras. Es un documental de 2025 de duración unos 44 minutos, que es un poco rollo de los secretos o los misterios de unos padres hacia sus hijos. El documental va de todas las grabaciones caseras y cosas así. Y secretos que descubrieron los hijos, que casi 30 años después el hijo de esos padres descubrió algo y hizo este documental. El segundo es un documental también bastante polémico llamado The Bridget, que es un documental de 2006 que nos habla un poco del puente de San Francisco, que si no recuerdo mal es el Golden Gate, y supuestamente que es uno de los puentes donde ha habido muchísimos suicidios y nos hablan de 24 casos de personas que se tiraron por el puente y cosas así. También quiero comentar una cosa. A ver si puedo, porque he estado mirando y por productoras y cosas así no me pueden decir nada. Y el directo de esta noche puede ser que lo suba a YouTube, no sé. Muy buenas, deba estar, bienvenido. Hola, magnífico Madmo, ¿cómo estás? ¿Y cómo está la guapísima Claudia? Son unos grandes de los... Muchísimas gracias, deba estar. Claudia sí que es grande, yo normalito, yo creo, ¿eh? ¿Qué tal deba estar? ¿Cómo llevas el lunes? Yo os digo la verdad, la semana pasada hizo un frío que pela y no sé, yo creo que también es por ser calvo, que noto mucho los cambios de temperatura, pero esta semana hace un frío que pela y poco más. Ah, guay, debe estar. Pues hoy toca Noche Documental 8. Llevo bastante tiempo sin hacer, os traigo dos documentales que me parecieron muy buenos. Y como tocaba comedia de terror o comedia negra y no había ninguna realmente que me apeteciera subir o que realmente mereciera la pena, nos vamos a estar una temporada que os voy a hacer documental. Depende del directo de esta noche, aparte de lo que he comentado, lo más seguro es que el directo de esta noche lo intentaré subir a YouTube. No sé si me dejará, si me meten un bloqueo, pues eliminaré el vídeo y a tomar por culo. También hay que decir que lo voy a subir tal cual y poco más. Pues nada, vamos a darle caña, ya sabéis cómo tiro. Empezaremos hablando del primer documental. He empezado por el más corto, porque el otro, aunque es muy bueno y polémico, es un poco denso. Es un poco denso y si no sois de ver documentales como yo, no sé si os molará. Así que he preferido empezar por el más corto. Lo dicho, el título del documental es Don't Come Upstairs, que la traducción al castellano sería No subas las escaleras. Es un documental de 2025, es un documental de duración unos 44 minutos. País de origen Canadá. Por cierto, el director y los guionistas, si no recuerdo mal, son familiares, o sea, son los hijos, concretamente, del matrimonio o de los padres que hablan. Así que el director es Mike Lobel, que también es uno de los dos guionistas. El segundo guionista es Mika. Y como siempre os voy a decir, las productoras en esta ocasión son tres productoras. Son pequeñitas, ya os digo la verdad. La primera productora es Don't Come Star Films, la segunda es Good Pal Production y la tercera y última es Brian Upside Down Films. Concretamente, de distribuidora es la propia. Es la primera productora. La distribuidora es Don't Come Upstairs Films. Y como siempre os voy a decir el género de un tirón. Vuelvo a decir, los dos documentales no son del rollo del género que suelo traer. Simplemente me han parecido documentales bastante buenos y polémicos y se me ocurrió haceros eso. Vale, lo dicho, entra dentro del género documental, familia, mediometraje, misterio, drama, secretos ocultos y investigación personal. Os voy a leer la sinopsis oficial, que si os digo la verdad, de este documental no hay muchas páginas que hablen de él. Así que os voy a leer la sinopsis oficial que aparece en la página Film Affinity, otra gran página que siempre la recomiendo, que dice así. Un cineasta explora el secreto oculto de su familia durante 30 años, a través de vídeos caseros, a pesar de los riesgos para la seguridad de todos, basada en la investigación de Mike Lobel sobre lo que sus padres le ocultaron a él y a sus hermanos. Vale, de premios y cosas así no he encontrado nada, y de curiosidades o anécdotas, el propio documental nos aporta toda esa información, así que tanto el primer documental como el segundo, contenido extra no voy a traer, así que yo calculo que serán entre 2 horas y cuarto, 2 horas y media, un directo cortito. Y poco más. Vale, el documental os lo traigo de un canal de YouTube, del canal de YouTube Movie Haven. Así que, y también quiero comentar una cosa, ambos documentales son subtitulados. Así que lo más seguro es que me dejaré el micro encendido. Si veo que molesta o algo así, me lo silenciaré. Pero en principio me quedaré calladito viendo el documental. Iré comentando cosas así. Lo que sí que me hacéis alguna pregunta, os responderé directamente desde el chat escrito. O directamente pararé el documental y os lo comentaré desde el micro. Así que vamos a darle caña. Vale, que no he comentado, se me ha ido la olla. Lo que digo siempre, si el documental se escucha muy flojito, me lo comentáis y lo soluciono. Si todo lo contrario se escucha demasiado alto y empieza a petardear y no os enteráis de una puta mierda, me lo comentáis y voy cagando hostia al solucionarlo. Así que, a ver qué te leo de bastar, perdona. Así son pequeñas y no son conocidos, seguro podrás subirlo a YouTube y es conocido, por ejemplo, DreamWorks. Así agárrate de la silla. A ver, de DreamWorks no voy a traer nada, aparte de DreamWorks, que yo sepa, documentales no son. A ver, lo digo porque os traje el último hombre en la Tierra, que iba de un hombre supuestamente con vida eterna, que se supone que era un neandertal y cosas así. Y cuando lo subí me bloquearon, pero al tiempo, no sé si fuera un mes o dos después, me lo quitaron todo. Me dijeron directamente, tiene copy, pero el propietario te deja el hecho de subirlo a YouTube. Y principalmente ambas películas no tenían ningún tipo de copy porque el creador y las productoras querían que los que viéramos las películas promoviéramos el contenido. Los documentales en principio, el primero creo está en YouTube, no me pueden decir nada, y el segundo, que yo sepa, que es el más antiguo, que es de 2006, llamado The Bridget, que es el que os comentaba de temática un poco de autoeliminación, vamos a decirlo así, para que no me digan nada. Estuvo en Netflix, pero hace mucho tiempo, pero estuvo, no es producido por Netflix. Así que vamos a darle caña. Lo dicho, comentarme cómo se oye, por favor. Así que vamos a empezar.
This is my goofy brother.
That's me, 12-year-old Mike Lobel.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'll be your host for the evening.
And this is my family.
Say hi, Mom.
This is Mommy Susie speaking.
On the surface, we just appeared to be a normal family, and we were, and we are. I took you to school, did the groceries. We had birthday parties for you.
My little brother, sister, and I grew up in Parkdale, in the heart of Toronto. My little sister, Melanie, was fearless.
I wanted to do the things that you were doing, and I wanted to do them better.
Oh, wow, it comes out now for the first time.
My brother, Elliot, was shy.
Say hi. Hi. Wait. Wait.
He was always really taking everything in.
I think I was a pretty goofy kid. A good kid. Definitely not rebellious.
I was the rebellious one.
Say Merry Christmas. No. Merry Christmas.
I had big feelings and a lot of energy.
You were 8 when you somersaulted off the bookcase. You ended up in the hospital.
I was a handful, but my mom wouldn't admit it.
Those were beautiful times. It was bliss.
Yeah, it sounds very normal and nice.
It was all about taking care of the kids for me, and Dad was responsible for, you know,
There would be times that he was gone and absent. I couldn't understand where he was.
I didn't really have a very good idea what my dad did.
And when people asked, what did you say?
Well, that he was a taxi driver.
Insurance was one of them.
He was in the antique business and went on the road.
The stock market.
Gambling. Actually, I don't even know if any of that's true.
Is it true Dad worked for a travel magazine?
No.
Dad had a drawer of like phones.
We'd be having family dinner. A random cell phone would go off. Some new ringtone. Any point, like I looked over, like you were kind of just like head down, whatever. Don't acknowledge anything. And Dad wouldn't flinch. Like he wouldn't move. We were not allowed to be going upstairs. There was Post-it on the staircase, and I would get the response, "Don't come up, don't come up."
We all lived under the same roof, but we couldn't tell you a lot about him. He just seemed different than other dads in ways we didn't understand and still don't. See, that's the thing. None of us really know who Dad is.
Empieza bien, ¿eh? O sea, no os podéis quejar, ¿eh?
It's taken me a long time to decide I want to have children. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm afraid of messing them up.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, that one's fast. What kind of father will I be?
I love doing this.
When I was 14, I learned that cameras don't just record reality.
Get out of here, Elliot.
They can change it. With this accidental cut right here,
Elliot.
I was hooked. I did what any angsty kid might do. I started making my own movies.
In the movie, I'm gonna be wearing those shoes, so it's carefully planned out.
You gotta bring a knife and ketchup.
My brother and sister were my first film crew.
Ready? Yeah. Action. Ooh, the cat.
I kept trying to will my toys to life by filming them. Little worlds I could disappear into. Then eventually, I disappeared into characters. When I was 16, I landed an agent, and I got to play Jay Hogarth for 7 seasons on Degrassi: The Next Generation. A Canadian success. It was amazing. I was doing what I loved to do, telling stories. But there was one story I always felt I couldn't tell. My own. To tell it, I need my family's help. I'm not sure I'll get it.
Hey,
How's it going, man?
good, what's up?
Not much, just digitizing some of our old stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess my question is, would you be willing to sit down on camera if I come to Montreal to talk about it?
I don't want anything to do with it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm gonna be running for office.
Seriously, though.
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? You can interview me.
Would you and your husband be cool to talk?
Yeah, he can't be associated with it at all.
And that goes for the whole family?
Yes, no, you cannot use my children's faces on set.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Got it. So just you then?
Just me.
Okay.
I think I need to do this as something that Dad and I shared for many years, and only us.
That just leaves my dad. Rolling on A, rolling on B. My siblings and I have never really talked about our dad's secret. What do you think we're here to talk about today?
We're here to talk about my dad.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel nervous talking about this.
I don't expect them to open up right away. I didn't tell my wife Mika about the secret until just before we were married. I was 38 years old.
I don't know when that started, that feeling of like, you know, trying to be careful.
We all have our reasons. When I was 10, I asked my dad what he did for a living, for a Take Your Kid to Work Day school project. He yelled at me. I never dared ask again.
Now you can go run.
But I could tell something was up.
I knew you were going through the same thing that I was going through. At that moment, we kind of made it a quest that we were going to figure out what our dad did. I started to recognize
¿Sabéis lo
now that
siniestro
would
que
have a
se
different
ve?
name. I thought
O
that
sea,
he
una
was
propia
different
mujer,
people.
familia entera, hijos que no
Upstairs,
conocen a su
it was
propio
not
padre.
quite finished.
O
Mom and Dad's
marido.
ensuite bathroom that never got done.
Remember the jacuzzi?
There was a roughed-in bathtub.
It had like this wood on top of it, covering it. I don't think I looked under that.
I knew it was something that we shouldn't know about. I never really wanted to snoop so hard, but I felt like I have to just look, and I go to lift it up. I don't know what I saw.
As a kid, you kind of absorb this energy of your surroundings.
We weren't just absorbing energy. There was a long list of instructions we had to follow. No questions asked.
I'm serious, don't forget, the safety things are most important, okay? Leave the outdoor lights on, put the alarm on, keep the blinds down.
We had an alarm system, and that alarm system had to be kept on all the time. Not just at night, all day.
It felt like he was going a little bit overboard with details. Could I have asked what he does?
There was a lot of times that we tried and we got shut down. Dad could at times be verbally volatile.
There's like always that thought of like, you know, what if he directs his anger at me?
When he was like that, he could yell and slam doors or leave the house in a rage.
I feel like we were just so programmed, don't acknowledge what is happening. Yeah, our friends all knew what their parents did for work, but we had no clue. And it made me feel very uncomfortable.
O sea, el mal rollo de la familia, o sea, que sus propios hijos piensen eso de él. Hostia puta, ¿eh?
Myself and my family.
We were taught to keep our heads down and our mouths shut. But I just couldn't do it. There I was on a hit TV show, drawing attention to myself, standing in the biggest possible spotlight. But I was always afraid of who might be watching.
I had reoccurring nightmares. Mine were about being taken for ransom. I don't know who would be taking me.
For me, the nightmare started when I was 10. I had the same one for 25 years. I'm a kid, and the front door of my house is being kicked in. All kids have nightmares. They see things that aren't really there. But this wasn't our imagination. It was real. I found this tape in my parents' basement.
Just read the title for me.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Están traumadísimos, ¿eh?
What does it say?
This is Melanie Cassandra Lobel.
Give to police if either are abducted.
This is Michael Ryan Lobel. No birthmarks or scars.
Seeing my sister like this hits me hard. My parents thought lying was the best way to protect us. My mom doesn't feel that way anymore.
We've lived in the shadows for so long, I can't do it anymore. I can't go to my death.
I secretly record my parents' conversation.
I understand that. I understand that. And it's killed me. So I want to be free of it.
My dad finally agrees to an interview, but on one condition. The footage stays in his safe until after he's dead.
Lights? So if you were to honestly say what the title of your job was, what would you say? I was What's the term for that? What's the term for that?
Drug dealer? My dad was a drug dealer.
If this doesn't put me in jail, I don't know what will.
My dad told me the truth a few years ago, but he swore me to secrecy. He only told my siblings recently.
I forget everything about the wording, but I remember he told me.
Ahora veremos el control y todo lo que hacía y por qué no nos dejaba subir la escalera, ¿no?
Beyond that.
How did you start in the business?
It's a little fuzzy about how it came about.
Yeah. We're gonna have to put ourselves back into those places that we were in.
Yeah.
You know, I'm giving you permission to put yourself in some of those moments.
But first, you want me to go through Dante's Inferno? Well, your Uncle Alan was in the pot and hash business.
So he rubbed off on you?
Oh, I'd say he had. I was in my early 20s and looking for work. And he came to me and said, would you like to make some extra coin? He had me doing deliveries.
You start doing deliveries, then what?
Just bigger deliveries.
How much bigger?
Well, you know, I mean, how much bigger? I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it was just like supply and demand.
Well, listen, Dad, you're not standing on a street corner selling dime bags.
No. Moving different size weights of things and moving them to different customers.
I know this won't be easy. My dad has spent his whole life evading questions.
Okay, so let's just get back to how this stuff is coming into the country. It's coming in myriad different ways.
Yep.
What are those ways?
Well, the planes, trains, and automobiles. There's things
But you're not going to tell me?
I mean, you know, just like watch the movies, you know, they
It's bugging me a little bit how you're coming at this.
What do you mean? Well, tell me what you...
You're moving product from A to B, you're filibustering, you're...
Not much more to it.
Nah, Claudia.
Well, there is more to it.
My dad managed the distribution of thousands of pounds of marijuana and hashish.
Well, no, but, you know, I need you to talk about this stuff.
When Uncle Alan left the business, my dad expanded. He was importing product from Mexico, Nepal, Afghanistan. But as his operation expanded, so did the danger. In the 90s, marijuana and hashish were prosecuted like cocaine and heroin are now. Sentences could range from several years to life in prison. Watching his back 24/7 affected him.
He was paranoid. This particular night, your father was really freaking out. He felt like there was a threat. We dragged the mattress down the stairs into our living room because he just wanted to make sure that he could hear anybody breaking in.
I could feel the amount of tension at home. Like, what are we trying
¿Qué
to
tal,
keep
Claudia?
out?
¿Cómo ha ido el día?
By the time I was old enough to understand some of what was going on, I was hearing whispers at family events.
This conversation is censored.
The secrecy started early in my parents' relationship. And one day, my dad just disappeared.
It was probably a few months into dating, and then I don't hear from him. He fell off the face of the earth.
Tell me about that.
That is a question you need to ask your father.
Can you tell me about the time that you disappeared?
No, absolutely not.
I decide not to push my dad on this. Instead, he offers to show me what a typical workday looked like.
You leave the house, you get up.
Yep.
What's your morning
If I
routine?
was doing a delivery, I'd go to the garage and I'd pick up what I needed.
Garage?
That's right.
My dad had 2 garages and another car we didn't know about.
Right there.
So that's a pretty big size.
Yeah. I come in early morning, I park, and I do my thing inside.
Then what?
Trains, planes, and automobiles.
Can you give me the sort of the quick play-by-play, the run-through?
It turns out, he can.
There's always somebody bringing in product from Pakistan, from Thailand, from Mexico. Somebody had a load come in. We figured, how are we going to get that back to Canada in 2 days? And so we ended up leasing a corporate jet.
Dad starts telling me what he did in detail. He wants me to know how good he was at his job.
They called me Swift Arrow. This guy's like, you know, he's as fast as an arrow. I was playing a role, and I got good at it. In fact, people said to me, you look like an arc. I said, that's great. I said, it's working.
En serio, que era un padre de familia narcotraficante, hostia puta. Y sus hijos no lo sabían hasta mucho tiempo después.
Packing our bags to the islands. A lot of the people I worked with were married or had families and kids. Then we'd come back and we'd pick up where we left off. Of course, there were stressful times, like the time that I ran into a store to get
Esto es
something
tipo
from
rollo
Aspen
Breaking Bad,
And I look, the car is on the back of a tow truck with about $350,000 of cash in it. That caused some stress, but I got it back.
Madre mía.
I just want to know what risk it was to us, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to tell you the risk. So everything that I'm telling you about how I operated my business kept everybody in the family safe. So I must have done a good job.
He might be bending certain things to make it seem less intense, or maybe he's even
¿No
tricking
estáis
himself into
alucinando?
thinking
En
things are
serio,
less
yo la primera vez
serious
que vi
than
este
they are.
documental, que fue a finales del año pasado, más o menos, que me enteré de su existencia, aluciné, ¿eh? Porque lo típico de una mula, porque el padre del documentalista era una mula, transportaba droga, es que lo del rollo de tener familia va a ser que no.
My business with the shit that went down. You have no idea.
The disappearance my mom talked about? My dad tells me he was kidnapped.
I was, you know, abducted by bikers.
He never told me that till we had been married.
Round about the time he started dating my mom, he traveled to upstate New York to pay an associate's debt. The bikers wanted more than he had on him, so they took him hostage.
For 3 days, I was chained up in a closet. I was expecting that to be the end of my life. They took me to a payphone, and I'm making phone calls to people I know. The last person said, yeah, sorry, buddy, but I can't help you. And as soon as I heard that and I realized this was the end, that there was no way I was going to get out of this, they probably were going to kill me, I just dropped the phone and ran. I didn't care what they were going to shoot me or whatever. I was just running. And then I heard the car. I got to get the hell off this road. I saw a hill.
Hostia, y esto es real, ¿eh? Esto parece el guión de una peli de acción, ¿eh?
And the bikers, they had pulled up the driveway. And I'm yelling, they're going to kill us. Call the police. They're going to kill us. Somebody gets out of the car and grabs me by the waist. And they're pulling me, and I'm hanging on to the frame. Then the owner of the house comes out with a poker from his fireplace. And he's hitting the biker, trying to get him off me. He's like trying to save me.
If you hadn't have gotten out of that situation, then we wouldn't be here.
That's correct.
My dad's kidnapping governed my parents' behavior for the next 40 years.
We were so diligent in watching over you kids. And see, we thought that we were sheltering the three of you, but you felt it.
As a parent, to think that that's what was happening, I thought, honestly, like, how dare you? If he was going to get taken, how would the family survive? How would mom survive?
454 technically is a correct pound. They always bust you on a Thursday night or a Friday night.
Suddenly I'm getting half a lifetime's worth of overdue parental advice.
If you're being tailed by somebody, then you're being tailed by a group of people.
Right. Except it's a crash course in smuggling. I think I've convinced my dad that making this movie will fix our family's problems. I may have convinced myself. But Elliot thinks our problems go way beyond Dad's secret.
The secret is not so much what I was concerned with. For me, it was more related to just my relationship with Dad. Right. Because I don't trust him emotionally.
Mel thinks Elliot's right. It's not about the secret. It's about something else.
It's so hard to crack this, like, armored layer that he has. And he does it for everybody externally out of the house, but unfortunately he does it with his own kids.
Yeah, it's like he's made a really good
Y
version of
veis que
himself.
parece el típico padre de familia normal, ¿eh? Y luego era una mula.
It's not that Dad
Hostia
had
puta.
secrets. It's about what keeping those secrets did to him.
I think it's normal to be angry, but the way it was externalized, it was just like explosive.
A lot of it was incredible shouting.
I had like a little blanket that I coveted. Dad was mad, took my blanket and ripped it to pieces in front of me. I can try, but I would be dishonest with myself if I thought I could.
Da un momentito y te lo explico.
The temper
Vale, el documental que estamos viendo se llama Don't Come Upstairs, que la traducción al castellano sería No subas las escaleras. Es un documental de 2025 y es un documental que supuestamente lo está haciendo un cineasta supuestamente famosillo, que se hizo famoso saliendo en una serie canadiense que es Mike Lobel, y que concretamente habla de los secretos que hubo durante 30 años con su padre. Y nos lo está presentando con grabaciones caseras de su familia, cosas así. Es un documental muy diferente a la temática que suelo traer, que ya lo sabéis: terror, thriller, gore, comedia de terror y ciencia ficción. Es un dramón. Es un dramón sobre lo que acabas de ver, que el padre era un traficante de droga. O sea, era más bien una mula, porque él transportaba la droga, la entregaba, recogía y cosas así. Y a raíz de todo eso, lo más sorprendente es que cómo una persona así podía tener una familia, o el rollo del control que tenía hacia su familia, sin decirles nada nunca, sino después por lo que está diciendo, muchos años después, o sea, alrededor de 30 años después, consiguieron saber quién es su padre, de qué trabaja papá, y cosas así. Y va de eso concretamente. Aparte, yo me imagino que este documental, aunque se estrenó en 2025, el padre del protagonista, que es el director, Mike Lobel, le ha dicho que accede a la entrevista y a hablarle esto, pero que salga a la luz cuando él esté muerto. Así que lo más seguro es que este documental, aunque ponga 2025, que no he encontrado cuando se rodó o cuando se hizo, salía a la luz cuando su padre falleció y cosas así. Yo dije eso la primera vez que vi el documental, Claudia, joder. Aparte lo traigo de YouTube y lo que he comentado, a ver si puedo subirlo a mi canal de YouTube. Si no, pues se quedará aquí y ya está, en Twitch. Vale, vamos a seguir. ¿Quieres saber algo más, Claudia? Vale, esto lo digo para los que veáis esto, si puedo subirlo a YouTube. El chat no se va a ver. No se va a ver porque no es imposible descargarme un directo de Twitch para subirlo luego a YouTube si no tengo integrado el chat en la pantalla y no lo tengo integrado. No lo tengo integrado, así que Si flipáis, como pasó con otro vídeo que traje, con la saga El último hombre en la Tierra, pues seguimos, vamos a darle caña.
That Dad carried, it was so big in the house, you didn't want to do anything that was going to push that to the next level. So Mom and Dad were out, I would go around and tidy. This was my way of feeling like I could control something.
Control the chaos.
That's right.
You got the brunt of it because you kind of push, you know, the boundaries.
Do you think we got along?
We didn't get along during your teen years, but that was because you were acting out as a teenager.
You think it was because I was acting out?
Well, it wasn't my fault that you went all goth.
Dad, you were trying to kick me out since I was 13 years old.
He'd kick me out, and my mom would let me back in. Then at 22, I just didn't go back. I moved in with my indie rock band, and we hit the road. It wasn't stable, but I was free.
I do remember you coming back and saying thank you for that because it really helped me.
I know you don't want to go there.
What do you mean? Is that not true?
We were at each other a lot.
But is this about our relationship?
Did you ever ask Melanie and Elliot how they felt growing up in those circumstances?
Melanie's a really tough egg to crack. I can't talk to her about anything. Or she doesn't even hear me, you know? She doesn't even...
Don't you think that might have to do that she's got some feelings about it?
I don't know what else I could do.
If Dad really wants to truly repair his relationship, have the last chapter of his life to be the most authentic chapter, then he needs to stop pretending.
I suffer from cervical dystonia, the involuntary muscle contractions of my neck and tremoring. I have to have injections every 2 months so I can be free of the pain.
Turn a little bit to the right. Okay.
Trying.
I'm worried about you.
Hmm.
A few years ago, you were in a really dark place.
Yep. My life is just running from different fears. It was hard just holding the secret. It was too difficult. I felt like I don't want to be here. If it were all over, I'd be out of all the challenges. I wouldn't have to face them anymore.
When my siblings and I realized what was happening, we got our mom help. She saw a doctor who recommended cognitive behavioral therapy. And slowly, she got back on her feet. My dad is a smart guy. He knew we were all having problems. He even knew where his problems came from. They didn't all come from dealing drugs.
My father was a straight arrow. Everybody liked him. I couldn't stand him. I hated him. He used to hit me. He humiliated me. If there was something you said he didn't like, that right hand went out and slap across the face. I was on pins and needles always with him, what to say and not to say. I realized I could not handle school. Couldn't even read assignments. I was picked on, I was beaten up. They called me Dirty Jew and, they had all sorts of things to say. So I ran away to join the ballet.
If you can believe it, my dad's first passion was dance.
Like when they say somebody runs away to join the circus, that's what I did. Yeah, never looked back.
¿En serio? ¿Un narcotraficante o mula que le encanta el ballet? Hostia, Esto un poco rollo como el chuache que hacía ballet para tener mayor flexibilidad en el cuerpo por el culturismo. No me jodas, es un traje de luces.
The one big one that stood out was doing the Ed Sullivan show. I was 15. It was really exciting. And then I ended up injuring myself. I could barely walk. I didn't want to accept it, right? I really needed to get it operated on, but I couldn't do it. I guess I was afraid. I wasn't dealing with the problem. I was running away from it. I knew that I can't do it. I can't dance. And I left. Yeah, it was a kick to my ego. My soul, really, because I loved dance. That was my whole life. My career ended after only 7 years. And then Alan popped into my life. He made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Why didn't you stop, take the safer route?
That's all I knew how to do. And at the same time, I also believed in it. So I was kind of like a minor crusader at the time. I thought it should be legal and it shouldn't be anybody else's business.
I don't agree with it. Now it's spoken of as being legal, but that's now, that's today, that's present day. There's such a sense of pride that he carries about what he did, a dismissal of how this has affected the entire family.
Vale, los subtítulos son una mierda, veis que hay palabras que se leen raras. Eso es YouTube, Intenté buscar este documental a ver si lo podía para descargármelo y solamente lo encontré en YouTube, Sí, pero hay palabras que como parecen raros.
The bad elements started moving in, the bikers, the mafia.
Por lo menos raro con el vocabulario en castellano de España.
When my dad opens up about his past, I can empathize with him. I can identify. And I'm not alone.
I'm very hard on myself when that temper comes out. And unfortunately, it happens with
Puede ser
partners
eso,
that I've been
no lo
with.
sé.
Yeah, that's a side of me that I really don't like.
I don't have it at all. And I also feel horrible about it, and I'm trying really hard.
Same.
Both my sister and I have carried our tempers into our adult lives. We want to be better. There's a strange comfort in saying it all out loud. And I wonder why we haven't all sat down to talk.
What I was saying before about Melanie and Elliot, we haven't sat down.
That's right.
And talked about this as a family.
I know that.
At all.
No. The two of them are so hard to get through to.
I just think if you open the door to them and just say, I want to talk, want to hear from you, I want to know what you think, and I want to just listen.
O sea, aquí vemos que cortó casi todo tipo de relación con sus hijos, menos con Mike Lobel, que es el director del documental.
But we weren't good. After a crew member misplaces my dad's car keys, my dad loses his temper and quits the film.
Oh, it's him. Hello.
What I said.
What didn't I understand about what? They're on their way right now, Dad. He hung up.
Madre mía, la paranoia de cuando era una mula sigue,
This I haven't seen.
I feel the same way. I feel the same like when I was a little kid, you know? Like
La putada es que no, la madre que parió con los subtítulos. Ya empezamos con los subtítulos. Por eso no me gusta traer cosas de YouTube. A ver, me puedo imaginar lo que dicen, pero ya sabéis que mi inglés es nulo,
You're never going to feel the closeness that you think you have with your children. And if you want to take them to your grave, be my guest buddy.
Now I feel foolish because Dad will never change.
But Michael, there's nothing you can do about it.
Vale, sí.
I
Está
actually think if
en
Mom wasn't
latino, ¿eh?
around,
Porque
he
lo de
probably would
masculino
never
y
call us.
femenino muchas veces
This is
en
always the
latino
risk with my father.
ella
If
y
you push him
él
too hard,
lo
he
dicen, da
walks
igual que sea un
away.
hombre o una mujer, ¿eh?
It's like disappearing is how he survives. He's done it with Damien, my older half-brother.
Es lo que me
from my father's
imaginaba.
first marriage.
Es lo...
They have a very complicated relationship.
A ver, podemos ver que un buen padre no era este hombre, ¿eh?
Been estranged. When I was a kid, I asked him what you did.
And what did he say?
I don't know what Dad does.
Right, so he still doesn't.
And why haven't you told him yet, though?
I don't consider him part of this family.
But he is your son, and
Yeah,
surely
but he wasn't part of my life. He was a distant relative, really. It's not the same dynamic.
Muchísimas gracias, Claudia, por
I
traducirlo.
told him before I told you guys.
Would you consider telling him now?
I have no reason to.
Tell him outright.
I can relate to Damien. My dad blows up, and then it's like it never happened. It's his pattern.
Oof. Were you expecting something to come out of this? What were you thinking?
I was hoping to come out of it feeling closer. I thought it was happening, and then we had that blow up.
Yeah, that blow up just had. All that had to do with just me panicking on you losing control. And I'm sorry I took it out on you.
Sí, es un maniático del control, ¿eh? Por la mierda de que era una mula, ¿eh?
It scared me.
That won't happen again. Trust me.
Listen, I want to have a relationship with you.
Yeah, I know, I do too.
Because you and Zadie didn't really get along very well.
That's what also hurts is when I behave the way I do with you. Is that he did shit like that. So,
is there a way that you can see him as just a person that's flawed like me, like you, in that way, that maybe
yes.
he
Yeah.
also didn't like himself when he behaved like that?
Yeah. He talked one day, I think he was saying to me, he said, I'd like to know what it is you do.
Your dad?
Yeah, is there something I could do? He drove product across the border for me. The best profile is like a senior citizen. He'd never done anything dishonest in his whole life. But his reasoning was he wanted to spend some time with me.
Your dad literally became a drug mule. He went to those lengths to connect with you.
Yeah. And you're doing this to connect with me.
Es que sigo alucinando y he visto el documental, ¿eh? En serio. No parece un traficante, ¿eh?
There you go.
While he's still alive.
Don't lose him.
My siblings agree to talk to my dad, but only if he's the one who asks them to.
Am I going first?
He does.
Hi.
Come on in. Mom, do you want to sit over there? Dad, you can sit here.
Aquí se va a liar parda, ¿eh? Lo
I guess
veis,
I'll
¿eh?
start with, how are you guys feeling?
Nervous. You know, I really don't know how it affected the three of you. I want to hear that.
I do have a question. Were you in it before you met Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was around a month and a half after we had been dating.
I sat her down and I told her what I did, thinking, well, that would be the end of that. Maybe that was your big mistake.
You never thought at some point my kids are probably going to want to know, hey, what did you do for work all these years?
Well, why didn't you ever ask me?
We did.
We did.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I don't even remember you guys ever coming and confronting me and saying...
Well, you don't remember a lot of things, Dad, but that happened. Like, that's the honest truth. It happened. Yeah. The fact that we even had to ask that question is not common,
Normal.
right?
It wasn't a lie to me. It was just protection, you know, making a bubble around the family where there was no risk of that outside.
Que sí que en realidad lo hacía para protegerlos, pero es un poco rollo de... Tío, tienes que haberlo dejado. Que tienes una familia, tío.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
We got that.
I was angry that that was a path that you chose, knowing it could have the potential of putting your whole family in jeopardy.
Believe it or not, I believed in it. I believed the fact that it was illegal was wrong. Lo and behold, the country legalized it. They caught up to my thinking.
I can intellectually understand that.
Vale, nos ha dicho que traficaba marihuana y
I
costa.
went to great lengths to secure our life.
Otherwise,
Que la
you would have
marihuana
felt
en
the
Canadá,
bumps
que
of
yo
things
sepa,
happening,
es
that
legal.
did feel the bumps. No, but nothing specific. Nobody kicked open the door, you know.
But we had nightmares that people were going to kick open the door.
I understand, but nothing over that whole period of time actually materialized.
I spent a lot of time like overhearing you guys getting in like these incredible rows.
Yeah, I don't know that I felt safe, like emotionally, because you do understand that the environment that you create at home impact your children and the people that live with you.
Very often, like, we were walking around on eggshells.
We were your release. So when you got home, like, you took it out on us.
Hostia puta,
You know, I was on fight or flight.
Ya no podemos quejarnos de las peleas que habían cuando la mayoría éramos pequeños con nuestras familias, ¿eh? What the fuck?
Do you think that would have not impacted us?
Yes.
Like, we would have been like, oh, our dad went to jail. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, but
Mom
I
doesn't work.
I would have gotten out.
You have no control over that.
Elliot?
When you guys would have arguments, like I wish there was something I could have done.
There was nothing you needed to do. That wasn't your responsibility.
Este se supone que es el pequeño, ¿eh? El hermano pequeño, ¿eh? Y parece el mayor, ¿eh? Hostia puta, ¿eh? Esto es un puto dramón, ¿eh? Pero está muy bien hecho el documental, ¿eh?
I'm sorry if it is, you know, it's all I have right now is sorry. And I did it with Mike like a few weeks ago. And I feel terrible about it.
Me alegro que os mole.
You know, when I look
El
at
siguiente
Dad,
también
he's
es
like
un
that,
poco a
and
saco, ¿eh? Ya lo ha
feel
dicho,
like
¿eh?
I'm looking in the mirror.
You got that from me, unfortunately.
And you saw your dad do that.
I saw my dad do that. Until it stops, it keeps going.
Yeah.
Right? Until we stop it here.
I trust that you love me. I'm still gonna take time to work towards trusting you more.
Yeah.
I accept your apology.
Thank you.
You don't have to put on any front anymore, right? And I think that's going to take some time and work for you to understand what that is.
Yeah,
because I'm not really sure that you even know who the real Eric is anymore because of how many different faces you had to wear.
Yeah.
That was the past.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you don't do this anymore.
No.
Okay, let's just clarify that.
I know people don't change overnight. It takes time and courage.
Yeah, I know that. I hope you don't have any other daughters. That would be a real shock.
Would it?
Hostia.
But yeah.
I do.
What?
Hostia, a ver.
Don't want me to lie anymore, do you?
What?
My dad's not kidding. He's never met his other daughter, but she'd be in her 50s by now. I guess if you ask for the truth, you have to be open to receiving it.
Hostia, este tío la está liando parda más. O sea, le acaba de decir que tiene otra hija.
I feel like less burdened about the situation. There's not like something in the back of my mind that I'm like holding on to.
Telling each other the truth has changed something for us.
It gave you and your siblings some kind of peace.
But what do you get personally for you? That's not about what your kids get.
It's a weight.
O sea, esta mujer es una madre todoterreno. Aguantar todo esto, uf, madre mía. Podemos decir que esta mujer es la Sarah Connor de la realidad, ¿no?
Grown up into adults and are having families of their own. That's, you know, pretty remarkable. So out of all of this, like, craziness, we're not that screwed up.
Now, I'm not sure I'm gonna show up at premiere night.
Why not? You afraid?
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid anymore. No.
Ah, pues en realidad sí que estaba vivo. Porque al principio el padre de Mike dijo que las grabaciones que aparecía él no podían salir hasta que muriera.
I just hope I get to find out.
Están jodidísimos todos, ¿eh?
Start with your name.
No lo sé, es muy a saco, ¿eh? A mí me impactó eso, porque es polémico, igual que el otro, pero what. Y luego el título, no subas las escaleras, ¿eh? Que era una norma que les puso el padre, porque ahí yo me imagino que en el jacuzzi que se ha visto guardaba ahí algo de droga, ¿eh? Aunque se han visto paquetes blancos, como si fuera coca, caballo, cosas así, él ha dicho realmente que traficaba con costo y marihuana, que en esa época pues era igual de ilegal que la cocaína. Wow, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué os ha parecido? A mí me ha parecido una genialidad. Cortito. Me hubiera gustado saber un poco más. Un poquito más de la historia del padre, cosas así, pero es que en serio. Aparte nos ha ido contando todo a cuentagotas, ¿eh? A cuentagotas. Uy, espera un momentito, perdonad. Perdonad. Que me salta los putos anuncios de YouTube. ¿Qué tal? A mí me ha parecido una genialidad, ¿eh? O sea, muy cortito. Yo sí creo que si hubiera durado 3 horas el documental este, nos lo hubiéramos comido con patatas, ¿eh? Con patatas, pero del rollo como cuando comes huevos fritos con patatas fritas y pillas el cachopán, pues así, ¿no? Me alegro que te haya gustado. El siguiente es mucho más polémico por el rollo de la temática autoeliminación, voy a decir, por no decir lo otro. Porque así en YouTube intentaré subir, lo he dicho, perdón si me repito, sé que lo hago muchas veces y no me doy cuenta, pero lo hago principalmente porque quiero subir este directo a YouTube. Me parece una genialidad y lo más fuerte de todo es que el tío parecía un padre de familia normal, ¿eh? O sea, que te lo dicen y te quedas, venga tío, me estás tomando el pelo, pero mírate la cara, ¿cómo vas a ser una mula, tío? Un traficante. Venga ya, ¿eh? What the fuck. Y luego el rollo de que dijeran, vale, ahora todo el mundo ve esto que es una tontería porque era marihuana y costo, que actualmente en Canadá, por lo que han dicho, es ilegal, es legal, perdón. Una genialidad, es una genialidad. O sea, conclusión del documental principalmente es que el tío era un gilipollas, principalmente por el rollo de que, tío, si tienes una familia tienes que salir de ahí pero cagando hostia o directamente desaparecer o no tener familia. Luego del rollo de que, aunque marcó mucho a sus hijos por el rollo de los cambios de actitud y todo esto, lo hacía principalmente por su bien. Que sí, eso no significa que lo hiciera bien, era un hijo puta haciendo eso, ¿eh? Pero se notaba que realmente quería a sus hijos. Pero a la misma vez es que si tienes familia y quieres realmente a tu mujer y a tus 3 hijos, tienes que salir de ese mundo pero cagando hostias. Porque es lo que comentaba el padre de Mike, que él no era el único en ese mundillo que tenía una familia. Pero lo que sí que creo que realmente hizo bien es el rollo de que no decirles nada, ¿eh? No decirles nada, porque el rollo de cuando eres un niño pequeño, imaginaros que suelta eso en el colegio o mientras está con un colega en la calle y lo escucha un policía. Pero eso no quita que por culpa del padre es tanto su mujer, o creo que es más bien su exmujer, porque ha dado pinta de que ya no tenía trato con su mujer ni con sus hijos. Es el rollo de que los traumó. Y luego lo fuerte que ha comentado, de que su mujer se enteró que estaba en ese mundo 1 mes y medio después de casarse. O sea, yo he entendido casarse. O sea, no, a ver si me he equivocado yo y cuando eran novios, pero igualmente, Dios, la mujer, madre mía, había que hacerle una película y un monumento por haber aguantado todo eso, ¿eh? Que por cierto también han comentado eso, que su enfermedad de la columna puede ser que se haya desarrollado muchísimo más por el estrés sufrido por aguantar todo esto y encima llevar una familia. Wow, Vale, peña, vamos al siguiente documental y comentarme. Sabéis que cuando traigo documentales no me pongo tan pesado como cuando traigo películas, pero lo he dicho, comentarme qué os aparece y cosas así. Vamos con el siguiente documental, que creo que es el más polémico de todo, llamado The Bridget, que la traducción es lo mismo, la Bridget. No sé si es porque me ha timado el traductor Google, o realmente la traducción es eso, Te Bridget. Vale. Vale, la información que he encontrado de este documental, que el documental concretamente tiene... Vale, te lo escribo ahora. Dame un momentito. ¿Pero el que acabamos de ver o el de ahora? Porque es que son dos diferentes. El que vamos a ver ahora se llama The Bridget. Que no sabéis que mi inglés... Ese, de 2006. Y la información que os voy a traer la he conseguido de Abandon Movies. Este sí que es más largo, ¿eh? Dura 1 hora. El puente sería, pues la madre que parió. Lo he puesto en el traductor Google, de inglés a castellano, y me ponía la Bridget. Vale, vamos a darle caña. Este documental es mucho más polémico por el hecho de la temática autoeliminación. Vuelvo a repetir, este documental llegó a Barcelona y España y en todo el mundo con el mismo título, The Bridget. Es un documental de 2006. Es un documental bastante más largo, de duración unos 94 minutos, 1 hora y 34, y creo que eran 5 o 7 segundos. País de origen, Estados Unidos y Reino Unido. Es del director Eric Steele y del guionista Tad Friel. Concretamente de productoras, tiene 3 productoras. La primera es Haysitter and Tiger Production, segundo es Fear Strike Production y el último es RCA. Concretamente de distribuidora es lo más famoso, por lo menos a mi entender. La distribuidora es IFC Films. Y concretamente os voy a decir el género de un tirón, entrando el género de documental, autoeliminación, Golden Gates, drama, salud mental, investigación social. Os voy a leer la sinopsis oficial, que es la que podéis encontrar en cualquier lado. Lo he buscado en más de 20 páginas y siempre es la misma. Esta concretamente es de Abandon Movies, que dice así: saltando desde el puente Golden Gate de San Francisco, se suicida más gente que en ningún otro lugar en el mundo. The Bridget realiza una introspección en los más oscuros e impenetrables rincones de la mente humana a través del relato de 24 personas que se tiraron del puente en el año 2004. Una caída de 4 segundos que les separa de la vida y se supone les alivia de forma definitiva de su sufrimiento vital. Vale, como me ha pasado con el primer documental, no he encontrado ningún tipo de nominaciones, premios ni cosas así. Y de curiosidades, anécdotas, el propio documental lo cuenta. Concretamente, este documental os lo traigo de la página rusa, que no me mola traeros, pero lo encontré solamente ahí. Si no me recuerdo mal, era m.k.ru. Y vamos a darle caña. Está completamente en inglés. Tiene los subtítulos integrados. Esperemos que estén mejor que los de YouTube. Que aunque este documental no estaba del todo mal, los subtítulos, había cosas que no. Así que dejadme un momentito. A ver si se carga. Vale, la madre que te parió. No. Vale, comentarme cómo se oye, porque lo voy a... A ver, vamos a hacerlo así tal cual, ¿vale? Vale, cuando traigo cosas subtituladas, como ha pasado con el primer vídeo, sabéis que suelo poner el audio flojito. Aparte, ¿qué os parece? ¿Me dejo el micro abierto o queréis que me lo silencie? Vosotros decidís. Vale, lo que sí que voy a hacer, porque es que voy a hacer esto más pequeño. ¿Sí? ¿Lo dejo abierto? Vale. Pues le damos caña. Vale, iré tocando cómo se gráficamente, porque esta página cuesta 1,5 cojones que suba. O sea, que se cargue las cosas. Así que vamos a darle caña. A ver, dejarme, porque... Vale, ahora sí que me he flipado, Vamos a hacer un poquito... Vale, así sí. Vale, quiero comentar una cosa que se me ha olvidado decirlo y lo voy a comentar por el rollo de la temática de autoeliminación. Hay grabaciones reales, que yo sepa. Yo digo porque es que este documental lo vi hará no sé si fueron 7 o 10 años. Lo vi hace mucho tiempo y yo recuerdo... ¿Lo bajo un poquito? Vale, voy. Vale, lo voy a bajar también del OBS Studio. Lo dicho, si alguien es propenso a que le dé muy mal rollo o que, wow, lo digo. Hay grabaciones reales de supuestamente de gente que hace la autoeliminación o lo intenta en el puente de San Francisco, Golden Gate, ¿eh? Que por cierto, Claudia ha dicho bien, se dice Golden Gate, ¿verdad? Lo digo porque yo iba a decir Golden Gate para hacer la coña de que igualmente no se escribe así. Vale, le damos caña, perdonar que lo pare. Voy a repetir, son 24 casos de personas que se tiraron por ese puente en 2004, ¿eh? Digo, tener en cuenta, esto no, que yo sepa, no recuerdo si había recreaciones, pero yo juraría que no, ¿eh? Aparte, vuelvo a repetir, el Golden Gate, el puente de San Francisco, está considerado de los puentes donde han habido más autoeliminaciones. Es la cara que se me quedó a mí. Wow, ¿eh?
It was sort of a weird day. The wind was lightish, and I was just kiting there. I cut over
Sí,
to the south tower.
Ni 5 minutos en pensárselo,
So
¿eh?
I cut back the other way, and I just saw a mass falling towards my kite, and I thought it was the same thing. And so I turned the kite back, and then I looked over, and you know, before they hit, I realized it was a person that had jumped. So then I cut over just to see, or maybe possibly help. The current just sucked them under, and I stayed in the tide because I knew that the Coast Guard would come, and that's when it became more of a surreal experience to me, because I've seen the Coast Guard boat a million times, and they've helped us out and rescued us when we have problems, but they're all wearing the white hazmat suits, and that's when I realized that there was definitely a person in.
I never knew the real scale of the problem. I don't know, the whole thing is crazy to me. I mean, I just don't even understand it, really.
When I was writing back after that time, I was thinking about how that person was at the lowest of the low of their life, obviously, and how the whole day, all I could think.
Para dejarme, voy a bajar lo gráfico, lo dije, esta página es una mierda para cargar. Vamos a bajarlo para que cargue más. Vale.
A good day to go out and kite and my passion sport, and here at the same time, you know, I'm reaching, you know, for what I love to do, and this person's ending their life, so that was unreal.
Yeah, exactly. Kiting is, to me, a real celebration of life. It's exhilarating, it's thrilling, it's just awesome. So it's a real juxtaposition of celebration of life and the ending of life.
Que pinta de ser muy divertido, ¿no? El esquí surfece, o se diga.
It was crystal clear, the bay was calm, there were tourists walking across the bridge, and usually on those types of days I always soak in the beauty of the bay and look over to Alcatraz. And on that particular day, I looked over, I was probably a little bit more than mid-span when I saw this gentleman on the railings. And at first glance I thought, wow, this guy looks like he's gonna bungee jump because of the way that he was standing on the railing, and then common sense kicked in and said, you can't, my thoughts were you couldn't jump off the bridge, bungee jump off the bridge. And then he just kind of held his arms out and disappeared. And I wasn't sure if I was imagining this, and so I drove for a few seconds and looked in my rearview mirror, and my heart rate went up, and I almost felt like I wanted to start crying, because I thought to myself, wow, I might be one of the last people that have ever seen this person alive. When I went into the tower and I talked to the highway patrolman, you know, I asked him blatantly, I said, is this a rare occurrence or does this happen often? And he looked at me and kind of smiled and just said, it happens all the time.
Sí, pero, coño, igualmente que pase mucho, no hay que decir, esto no pasa nada. Venga, no me jodas, ¿eh?
It's hard to define Gene as a person. He was just not of this world, I think, is really the truth of it. Not of this world as we know it. His mother was a woman who said, oh, I never want children. And then a few years later, she found herself pregnant and decided to have the child rather than leave the country for an alternative. And she was looking forward to it. And so came my friend Gene, who was always referred to as my little brother, Thump. He was born an old man. And all their lives, there was just the two of them, pretty much. People came and went in their lives in relationships of various sorts, but it was mostly just always the two of them, dependent on each other for that stability that one thinks of as tomorrow is coming and we will do this and we will do that.
Growing up with Lisa and Marin, she was just like completely normal until she was like 14. Yeah, and I'm 4 years older and I moved away. I lived in Alaska and my mom would write me and say, hey, Lisa's acting strange and doing these things. And I kept telling her it was typical teenage stuff. And I came back like 10 months later. And there was a big change.
Our upbringing was fabulous, I would say, until my father suddenly died when I was 14.
Well, that was a shock. So that threw all three of us, but it didn't make Jeff and I mentally ill. But Lisa had a different personality. She wasn't as outgoing as my brother or I, and she was more angelic.
We went through all the counselors and finally got her to go to a psychiatrist. And he said that Lisa is a paranoid schizophrenic and she will never recover.
Hostia.
That was a terrible thing to tell a mother. He says, you have to take her right now to the crisis center at Marin General. She immediately, when we got there, got on the payphone and started
A los
calling
14
friends and
años,
telling
o sea,
them how
era
terrible
joven,
it
cuando
was to
debutó en
bring her
eso.
to this place. Well, they brought her into the crisis unit, and do you know, for all the bad things she did when she was home, she straightened up, acted as if she was perfectly normal, and they discharged her. We went through that several times. She had her own style. She liked to wear headbands. She liked to wear black.
Black leather headbands with rhinestones and matching gloves.
And
with
she
no
always
fingers.
wore bicycle gloves.
No,
Now,
Harley rider gloves. You know, leather.
leather
She's a leather
gloves,
queen.
yes.
Vale, no, se ve que no conocían bien mucho a esta chica, por la descripción de su ropa.
I met Jean at a comic book convention in Oakland. We just hit it off immediately. By looking at us, you wouldn't think that we would become such tight friends, but we did. You know, he looked like the cool rocker type, you know, long hair, you know, everything about him is, you know, just cool and the ladies like it. And, you know, and I was Mr. Hip Hop, you know, other side of the spectrum and stuff.
Everything was black. His clothes were black. His hair was black.
Vale, veréis que es un poco liosa porque no hablan siempre de la misma persona, sino intercambian entrevistas con conocidos.
He just wanted. It's as though he wanted no contrasts. He mostly just wanted to be in his room with his computer.
Me and Jean had long talks about love and where he's trying to find it. And I told him he's not going to find it on the internet. A lot of times he didn't want to hear it. He just wanted what he saw. He would send me pictures of these girls.
Yo creo que sí, porque antes hablaba de una chica, ahora de un chico y el primero era un anciano. Digo, es un poco lioso, es muy bueno el documental, pero es un poco lioso cuando hablan de las personas.
You know, you don't know this person from nothing just because you read a bio about this person and this person wants to turn around and have sex with you.
Que yo sepa, son personas diferentes y no tienen ningún tipo de conexión, O sea, los 24 casos que hablan no tienen ningún tipo de conexión, Que yo sepa, también hay que decir que este documental me lo vi hace un tiempo y no me acuerdo del todo.
I noticed early on that Lisa was very interested in romance.
El puente es la relación, el puente y la autoeliminación que hicieron.
This was just before Christmas. She took off with him on a bus. She was gone for a week. We had no idea where she was. She was off her medication, and I was wrapping gifts. All of a sudden, I looked up, and there was Lisa outside, just really in a bad state. She thought our dogs were devils. She broke a clock because she thought it was a time bomb. I had to have the police come out, but before they would admit
No te lo sé
her,
decir
she
porque
had
es que
to
no me
have a
acuerdo,
court
Claudia.
to get in because
No
she'd been
me
in and
acuerdo
out
del
of
documental del
crisis
todo.
so many times.
Being a schizophrenic is like watching TV and having 44 channels on at the same time. And that's her environment 24/7. You know, there's just like little noises here or something there. And I'm trying to talk here, but that's distracting me, and it's all equal. That would freak anybody out.
She graduated from house to house to a home where there was constant care. And finally to independent living for about 15 years.
And that place
And
was
she had her
great.
own room, and she had a very nice situation there. She liked it there.
But one of her roommates there, right, jumped off the bridge
Well,
too?
no, this was a friend.
A friend.
A friend of hers.
2 years ago?
Oh, no, it's longer.
Longer than that?
Much longer.
As far as pills and other forms of suicide, I haven't personally experienced that in my houses. It's like the last 3 people, I think, who I was kind of close to in Buckaloo were all bridge jumpers.
After she settled in Marin.
She did
She's
well
pretty
there.
stable. But all of a sudden, this past year, she just felt she needed more support for some reason. Do you think that was a medication change?
No, I think it was because she was ill.
Oh, because she wasn't feeling good.
Her teeth were just so rotted, and they felt it was from medication and from drinking a lot of Coke. So she had to have all her teeth removed.
So she
that
looked kind of
was-
funny walking around with
That
no
was
teeth.
that was a problem too. It's just from then on downhill.
It opened in 1937. Each year, about 9 million tourists come and visit.
Well, we went for Easter vacation to take out the kids to San Francisco. Before going to the Alcatraz, before going to the Golden Bridge, we went to Alcatraz and we went to the Pier 39. And from there, we took a walk to the Golden Gate.
We had a big dinner on
the week before Easter.
Yeah, Palm Sunday. So I said, Lisa, I'm not going to fix a big dinner on Easter Sunday. The kids weren't going to be around. So
Except that was the tradition in our family to get together.
But, well, she didn't seem to mind. She never objected. So I called her about 1 o'clock. She didn't feel good that week. She still didn't go to work. And so I said, well, I guess I could come down, but I don't know what I can do.
Lisa was so quiet and oftentimes had this, I don't know how you'd say, a poker face, or she kept her feelings to herself. She wasn't one to, get all emotional, and which surprised me because I look back now at Muir Woods. We were walking down the little trail and there was this huge redwood tree lying in the middle of the path, and she looked at it and she goes, wow, look at that. And it sounds like no big deal, but for Lisa, that was like, that was different.
And then she came home, and I guess she was hungry, and she asked a girl there, did you fix dinner? And they said no. And so then they said she was very quiet, and she got in the freezer and took something out and fixed it herself. And after she had eaten, they said she was very quiet. When she was eating, she got up and took her purse and her jacket, and off she went. And that's the last they saw her.
Vale, dejarme que voy a comentar algo. A ver, los que veis esto en YouTube no os habréis dado cuenta. Lo tenía ya bloqueado. O sea, es el mismo puto Nick. Y me ha hecho otra vez bloquearlo. No sé, es algo muy raro, ¿eh? O sea, lo tenía ya bloqueado y me pone que no estaba bloqueado. Y es el mismo que ayer o antes de ayer. No lo recuerdo bien, ¿eh? Y está... Sí, es igual. Es el mismo. Es el mismo de ayer o antes de ayer. No sé qué coño es eso, ¿eh? Pero lo tenía yo denunciado y bloqueado. Porque me ponía... No lo sé. Aparte de que... ¿Has visto lo que dijo? Sí, pero no ha hecho nada. Lo de bloquear la frase no ha servido para nada. O sea, ¿ves? No sirve para nada. O sea, si no hubiera estado bloqueado la frase, hubiera salido exactamente lo mismo. Pero es que es lo mismo. Tú ya bloqueaste esa frase. Es lo mismo que te puse que fue a... Ah, puede ser eso, ¿eh? Puede ser... No, a ver, normalmente cuando me ponen eso, siempre ponen mi nick, ¿eh? O sea, ponen mi dirección, mazmorra doxa, ¿eh? Ya, pero si bloqueas lo de mazmorra doxa, Claudia, cualquiera que me escriba sale bloqueado. Desbloquea lo de mazmorra doxa. Es que no bloquees mi nick. Es que ahora cualquiera que me escriba poniendo mi nick o cosas así va a salir bloqueado. No, desbloquea lo de mazmorra doxa. ¿Seguro? Es que no me pongas mi propio nick como bloqueo. No lo sé, a ver, escribe. Es que a ti no te puede bloquear Claudia porque eres moderadora, ¿eh? Pero eres moderadora, no te pueden bloquear. Perdonad lo que veis esto en YouTube. A ti no te puede bloquear eso. A ver, los que estáis de fondo, escribir un momento lo de mazmorra doxa, por favor. Tal cual. Es que desbloquéalo, Claudia. Es que no sirve para nada bloquear las frases. Es que se lo dije a... Mira que es cabezón, José, ¿eh? Por cierto, saludos, José. Es cabezón, le dije que no sirve para nada bloquear. Todo lo que hicimos el otro día no sirvió para nada, ¿eh? Lo dicho, desbloquea lo de mazmorra doxa, Claudia. Pero es que igualmente, aunque haya puesto lo de mazmorra doxa, lo otro de la frase debería estar bloqueado directamente. No sirve para nada. Vamos, le vamos a seguir, pero es que no sirve para nada, ¿eh? Me cago en Twitch. Os digo la verdad. Twitch son unos hijos de puta, en serio, ¿eh? Pleno 2026 que sigan dejando hacer esto. Yo sí que puedo. A mí a mí no me puede bloquear, Claudia. A mí no me puede bloquear porque soy creador. El canal es mío. Es imposible bloquearme. Pero no me bloquees. Vale, vamos a seguir, perdonar. Me voy a cagar en los putos bots de mierda, en serio. Twitch, ole tus huevos de hijos de puta sanguijuelas de mierda.
We were taking pictures each other, and I was taking pictures to them, and Pablo was taking pictures to
Quítalo,
us.
Claudia. No quiero. No me bloquees mi nick. No bloquees
He was
mi
holding the
nick.
baby, and we were walking, and
we saw that lady.
This lady just put the
bag on the ground and she jumped off.
When I said, she jumped, and I was like,
and she told my brother to go call the cops.
Well, Pablo went running down to get some help because I want somebody to help her, because for us it was the first time to see somebody jump at the bridge.
Antes de brincarse al río.
And before she jumped, she looked at me and Vidal and she was laughing. She laughed like a smile, like, you don't know what I'm gonna do, but she smiled and jumped. And
like she was acting like a gorilla or something.
Pero Claudia, yo decía que desbloquearas mi nick nada más. La frase no la desbloquees. Vale, he visto que es mi nick, ¿eh? Lo único que no hay que bloquear, ¿eh? La frase, pero ves, no sirve para nada bloquear. Vale. Perdón. Pero es que lo veis, no sirve para nada bloquear palabras, frases o algo que no sirve para nada, ¿eh? No sirve para nada. Esto es culpa de Twitch, tanto sangrar a los streamers, pero no hacen bien su puto trabajo de mierda. Perdona, pero me sale del corazón. Perdón.
My brother's very religious. He doesn't believe she committed suicide. She thinks it's something else. I don't know what he thinks.
I didn't know that.
Well, he won't call it that because it's a sin to commit suicide in his mind, and that's not what she did. She fell or something. I don't know what he's coming up with different justifications so he can look at it.
He doesn't talk to me like that. So.
Thing is, if you go stand on that bridge and look down, the amount of guts that you have to stick anything over that rail, it must have been incredible, the pressure on her. It had to be worse than the thought of doing that. And I've always thought of myself as a stronger person than her, and there's no way I would have the guts to do that, even with a parachute or something. And for her to just do it, and just like that, it was like, I still can't believe it. My family, my husband, my kids were like, how does she even think about doing that?
I think it was a relief for her. Because she knew that she probably never would be physically well again. And she knew she had the mental illness. And she was just at the end of her rope. There were too many things. So
yeah, I agree with that.
She's in a better place, that's all I can say.
You have to look at it that way,
Guau, ¿eh? O sea, lo dije, este es polémico, ¿eh?
Yeah, I try and relive, with doing something, so this is something Philip likes, or my son would like this, or he's still there with me, Go somewhere, a ball game or something, he's there. And I think I'm getting more of an understanding of what he went through toward the end. Because you feel the same way, it's just, what makes any of us go over that line? It's just, some days you think like that yourself. It's just, he thought about it every day.
What makes a person be able to do that? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Well, it's like any pain. When it becomes unbearable, you'll do anything. It's like physical cancer. I mean, if you have cancer of the mind, nobody knows what you're going through.
I mean, it was like our hands being tied. I mean, no matter how much we talked to him, I mean, he was in and out of the hospital. The doctors talked to him, and it was like nothing would change his mind. In fact, I think the medicines made him worse.
We thought, if we can get him through his episodes, but that's the crazy thing. As soon as you get somebody strong enough, that's when they have the courage. So do you make them well, or do you keep them sick? I mean, he tried it a few times, but
me sorprende que los familiares de personas que hicieron la autoeliminación quisieran hacer este documental,
He
para salir,
found the Golden Gate Bridge on the internet. He said to him it was the best way. I mean, it was planned out for months, and the final 2 weeks he was making his, last preparations. He said whether some people believe suicide's a sin, he asked that a lot. I said, it's something man made up. And at least he thanked me. I'm telling him the truth, just, I don't know. It's just, I don't think God's going to hold you responsible for something you can't handle. And he said, well, whether I come back or not, he says, if I do, I'll see you again, Dad. If not, just know that I'm at peace. What I'm trying to say is I didn't want him to feel like he was in a cage inside of himself. You know, some people say their body's a temple. Well, he thought his body was a prison. And his mind, he knew he was loved, he knew he had everything, could do anything, and yet he felt trapped. That was the only way he could get free.
Wow, Wow.
Gene is very overly dramatic.
Even the simplest things were very long and drawn out and very hard, and he would always say things like, "Kill me now."
Es que no están en su posición. Es imposible entender a una persona que llega a este extremo si no se puede poner en esa posición. Ya. Ya. O el rollo de lo que se suele decir, ¿no? Puede estar rodeado de gente, pero considerarse una persona más solitaria del mundo.
You know, like, I'm gonna do it this time, and, you know, he wasn't that person. He would make light of it, and he's like, man, I'm gonna just commit suicide. I'm gonna just, you know, shoot myself. I'm gonna do it with a bow and arrow. And when he would say this stuff, we were just like, yeah, whatever. And years and years and years would go by, he's crying wolf.
But he was still fun to be around. It sounds, I mean, when I hear myself saying it,
Claro,
it sounds like he
y el
wasn't
rollo
fun.
de
I mean, he was fun to
decir
be around. He was
feliz.
fun to go out with and
Eso no
go to the
creo
clubs
que
with
haya
and
mucha
stuff.
gente que pueda
But
decir
just
realmente que sea
get in those
feliz.
little funks, and pretty
La
soon it was
felicidad es como una
just
imagen
like I didn't even
o
I
algo
didn't even pay
que,
any
a ver,
attention.
todo
It
el
was just
mundo
something he said
querríamos ser felices, pero
all the
luego
time, in
realmente
every
eres feliz
conversation.
o no. O gente, como me pasa a mí a veces, que el rollo de lo de ser feliz, hay veces que yo digo, ¿qué es ser feliz? O cosas así. Hay un montón de fotos de turistas haciéndose hacer la típica foto y luego ves en el fondo que había alguien que se había hecho la autoeliminación, ¿eh?
We had gone to Montana Glacier National Park the year before, and Philip had a blast there. We told him if he got out of the Army in time, which he did, that we were going back there, and they had those forest fires, and so we couldn't get in. So I had been to San Francisco before, and I said, you'll love it there. And the bridge fascinated him.
For some reason, yeah, when we were driving across the bridge, he just
Vale,
kept
aquí ya está
looking around
confirmado,
and
Philip
I just thought it
no
was
era
kind of
ningún
odd,
tipo
you know,
de,
just-
de
and he wanted
pariente
to
de
get
que este
out,
es el
you
Geviata.
know, he says, can we walk along the
De
bridge?
Lisa,
And
¿eh? Lisa, ¿no? ¿Ha
he
dicho
says,
que
I
se
guess there are
llamaba?
people who could walk along the bridge.
Yeah, we were on a tour bus.
Yeah, I said, you know, we
No.
can't get out now, and
O sea, ya
just-
llevamos
I
6
kept looking at
casos,
him like he
¿eh?
wanted to get out and just look around.
Vale, yo lo digo por si acaso, ¿eh? Porque es que es muy lioso, como lo explican, porque
it was just so
mezclan
beautiful
personas, historias y
When we
cosas
did
así.
get
¿no?
out of the bus, and he wanted his picture taken a few times with the bridge in the background, and
He'd ask questions, how deep do you think it is? How high do you think it is?
I mean, I like the bridge too. I mean, but I mean, he just seemed so fascinated by it, and I just thought that was kind of odd to have such a fascination with it. I don't know. It was like almost calling him, you know, type thing. It was like
Yeah.
magnetic to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We thought he might go and live out there. Even if he's homeless, at least it's a city he loves. Because he was homeless in Texas, lived out of his car. Met 2 girls online. Went down twice. Those didn't work.
He always fell in love with the wrong person, you know. I think everything
Vale,
just
eso yo
disillusioned
creo
him.
que a todo el mundo le ha pasado eso alguna vez, ¿no?
View of things and this perception of how everything should be, and then when it didn't meet up to his expectations, after
Yeah.
a while it was like, what's the point then?
But he still had to make a choice.
Gene's choice, his preference had been made years before.
Yo también.
He became increasingly
Y cualquiera con 2 dedos de frente se puede sentir identificado con lo que sale aquí. Eso no significa que seas un suicida o tengas pensamientos de autoeliminación, ¿eh?
Kill yourself and walk away.
Claro, exacto,
You
Claudia.
don't have a right to do that while I'm alive. And I think it was very hard for him to watch his mother's non-participation in a battle with cancer that she might have won. It was a choice on her part.
¿Ves?
When
Es
I
la
talked to
chica,
him,
¿eh?
he was acting as
La
if life
chica
goes
era,
on,
no Philip, ¿eh?
type situation, and and I'd always tell him, I'm here for you. You still got family, no matter what. I'm a brother from another mother.
He said to me after she was gone and there was a lot of stuff to clean up, and he said, well, now I can finally end it all. And I looked at him and I said, well, you will promise me that you will not go without saying goodbye.
I remember coming home because Thursday night's garbage day and Friday's recycling day. And Philip even did that before he left. He took the recycling things out to the curb, and I came home that Friday and they were empty, and I said, it's unusual for him not to bring the buckets back in. And when I came in the house, and as soon as she said, where's Philip, isn't he with you? And I was like, he did it. I knew. And here's the hard part for me. I had a feeling he was going to be in San Francisco, but I said, if he's in San Francisco and I call the police to stop him, if I have time yet, that he's going to just hang himself or have the policeman shoot him. And I said, if he's that determined, I have to let him go.
Hostia,
But when she asked me, I said, no, he's not coming home. And from the death certificate, he was already, done. It's just waiting for the policeman to show up at the door.
¿Qué? ¿Qué os parece? O sea, impactantes ambos. Este mucho más.
Just came around,
O sea, wow,
after snapping the shot with San Francisco in the backdrop, and he was right there.
Yeah, sort of. I'm surprised.
Os lo dije. Os lo dije. Por cierto, y comentando si os molaría que volviera a hacer otra noche documental, porque me molaría traeros el de Grizzly Man, que creo que duraba 2 horas. Sí que creo que solamente traería ese.
And you spoke with him because you noticed something odd.
Yeah, just his whole body language, his whole energy was just a bit off. He was definitely nervous, and he had shuffling his shoulder.
Como el que te dije, que ese es que me da mucha grima. Lo acabaré trayéndolo, creo. También tengo otro de la vida dura de los pescadores, pero desde la perspectiva del pez. O sea, se ve todo muy asqueroso.
Kept darting away, looking away, and his biggest concern when you ask him, "Are you all right?" He said, "It's a long way down to the water."
He said it's a long way down.
Long way down, right?
And I didn't know how to quite take that when I heard him say that.
A mí lo que me sorprende es que lo explican todo con una aceptación que me sorprende muchísimo, ¿eh? Para un familiar, amigo, conocido, hablando de su historia, de su autoeliminación, ¿eh? A mí me sorprende mucho, ¿eh? Por eso me parece que es muy bueno este documental.
For me, he said he was just going to go down so deep that even if he changed his mind, he couldn't swim to the top.
Más que entenderlo, lo aceptan, yo creo, ¿eh? O sea, aceptan de que a lo mejor lo que hizo realmente era lo que necesitaba o que nunca iba a estar conforme estando en este mundo. Que a lo mejor tiene otra oportunidad en la otra vida. O en el otro lado.
I mean, I don't think I was such a terrible mother. And then I remember Sharon said to me, you know, it's not all about you. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised in a family dysfunction.
I mean, yeah, so was I.
My father was
mean,
alcoholic, hers was alcoholic. They fought like cats and dogs, you know, and the abuse. And, yeah, I should be an alcoholic. I should be a serial killer, you know. You think you're raising your family to be, you know, religious or whatever, and you try and do the best, but you wind up doing more things that are harmful. And then when you try and fix them, it might be too late. And it's like, well, no matter what you do, good or bad, it's, you know, things are going to happen. And he said, if you and Mom, who I love, you know, are having problems, what hope is there for me? He says, I think you know, you loved me the most and tried your best. And he said, if you're having problems, you know, there's no way I can make it.
took a lot of pictures while he was on the bridge.
Yeah.
Uf.
To show
En
what he
serio,
was saying.
esto es muy duro, ¿eh? En serio, me pongo en la perspectiva de ellos y Dios mío, que puedan hablar así. Hostia, ¿eh? Que me parece de puta madre que puedan hablar de eso, porque esto quedándotelo es lo peor que puedes hacer, porque se hace al final como un tumor y acaba destrozándote más del daño que te puede haber hecho perder a una persona tan cercana, familiar o hijo o lo que sea. Me parece guau. Por cierto, lo digo también muchas veces, si queréis que traiga algún documental en específico, a ver, mientras que no sea alguna producción de plataforma de pago, lo puedo traer. También he traído muchos documentales amateurs, o sea, hechos por youtubers y cosas así. Mola las fotos, ¿eh? Están muy guapas, ¿eh?
I was taking pictures of Alcatraz at the time, and while I was taking the picture, I saw, like, out of the corner of my eye, a girl walking by, and she climbed over the rail, and she did it so smoothly. It's almost like she was going to, like, a little, like she had her own little clubhouse. I don't know, like she was going to sit on the ledge to, like, eat lunch. So I got a couple pictures of her climbing over.
Vale, esto no tiene ningún... En serio, en vez de intentar ayudarla, le haces una foto.
This girl was about to jump. But when I was behind the camera, it was almost like it wasn't real because I was looking through the lens.
Sí, esa excusa barata.
I was actually like, I guess I was waiting for her to jump because I thought there's nothing I could do. It was too late.
Earlier, I was actually staring down at the ledge in a couple different points on the bridge, and I was just trying to think to myself what goes through people's minds whenever they're standing on that ledge and they're about to jump off. Like, what's the last thing that they're thinking of? Or like, are they thinking anything at all? They just had enough and they just go and that's it, they're gone. I started yelling out to the girl, you know, asking her what was wrong. She seemed to be speaking in a different language and basically like tuning me out, like really not thinking about what I was saying. So I got up on the rail and I reached out, and I really didn't know I was going to be able to grab the back of her jacket, but once I grabbed it, I just lifted her over the rail and got her down on the ground. She started to fight me a little bit, so I just sat on her chest and just called 911, and they were probably there within a couple minutes.
Esto no tiene pinta de que esto, a ver, le ha salvado la vida, pero si tiene realmente el propósito de hacer eso, el hecho de que se lo eviten, encontrar a otro lado para hacerlo. Lo mejor es ayudarla de verdad con un psicólogo, psiquiatra o algo, familiares, amigos o cosas así.
And that's where I had to separate, or I had to actually like get out of that mode of thinking and actually act on it and do something to help her. After I left the bridge patrol, I was going back to my vehicle, and I happened to look over, and it kind of looked like she turned back, and like she looked right at me, and it freaked me out for a second. I just didn't expect her to look back now. I don't know if she actually saw me and was thinking like, you son of a bitch, you know, I wanted to jump or whatever.
Claro, o ayudarla realmente. O sea,
that she was thinking.
Esto realmente es una enfermedad. Es una enfermedad.
I'm sure that
es una enfermedad mental.
That she did want to be rescued because
que la puede sufrir cualquiera a cualquier edad.
Just take that basically like ultimate shortcut to like the next level.
Que no está mal que hiciera esto, pero es que esto lo tenía que haber hecho desde el principio. Porque le daba tiempo a haberla intentado convencer antes de que se pasara al otro lado.
Gene had a lot riding on this relationship.
Yo creo que más,
California, and he felt that it was going to be like a new beginning, and I think he had it planned out in his head how it was going to happen, and then when he got there, the reality wasn't quite the same as what was in his head.
Yeah, I think he was chasing a certain magical wonderland that would make all his problems go away, and making excuses as to why he couldn't find it here, expecting to find it somewhere else. He just wanted to make it happen so bad. That's why he went to St. Louis.
Only love, really love, feeling like he was loved and in love, was going to save him.
Vale, lo del rollo del poder del amor, eso es un cuento de hadas, ¿eh? El rollo de puedes ser querido, igualmente tener ganas de matarte. No lo digo por mí, pero yo he conocido personas así, ¿no? Tiene pinta que sea todo eso en el mismo momento, Claudia.
His needs to have someone depend on him.
Eso es verdad, ¿eh? Ese tipo de personas también son muchas veces muy dependientes, ¿eh? O sea, yo creo que, a ver, suena muy mal, pido disculpas, pero el ser vivo más feliz que hemos visto ahora mismo es el perro que acabamos de ver. ¿Sabes? Ese perro intenta ganas de sonreír.
The real thought process of actually going to do it and commit the act started when I'd say about 99.
Decirme que no soy el único que ha pensado en eso. Suena muy mal, pido disculpas, pero no es mi intención.
He had huge mood swings, and during his senior year, they were just compelling. I mean, he was constantly either very high or very low. That was really a fight. That's when Kevin was at his worst. There were times where he couldn't even speak, and there were times where he wouldn't stop speaking.
I was hallucinating, and I had made the assumption that there were bugs in my bed and stuff, and they were like stuff that were giving me AIDS and stuff like that. And it was just completely off the wall. I hadn't been sexually active for years, yet I thought I had AIDS. And it was like, it was all in my head. And I sprayed my bed sheets with a disinfectant, like a deodorizer or something like that. But I sprayed my bed sheets, you know, and I sleep in that. I inhaled it all night long, which caused the hallucinations to become greater and greater. And so I got up out of bed, sat at my desk, and I wrote I must have written 5 versions of my suicide letter until I realized these are mean. I can't write them like this. So I wrote a real nice one, or something I thought was nice. I mean, it's a suicide letter, you know. So, and I guess it said something like, "Mom, you're not always right. Don't think you are, but I love you. Dad, stop being so mean. You're hurting people."
He had a terrible episode, and there was no comment with regard to suicide. It was a commentary with regard to hearing voices and difficulty remaining under control. And I called his psychiatrist the Sunday night prior and had a conversation with him, and the psychiatrist told me, "No, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine." Then Kevin and I stayed up and we chatted about it, and he seemed to be fine, almost completely calmed.
Our conversations go like this when he's mad at me. He tells me to sit down in my chair, and he basically yells at me. So I told him that I don't want to. I said I don't want to hurt anybody anymore. I have to go away, or something like that. And he said, "You have an obligation to stay here for your family. You have an obligation to me, who's raised you, given you everything you want. You have an obligation to live for your brother, your sister," but he was, he's mad the whole time. So I said, all right, I'm not going to do anything, Dad. Don't worry. And he was like, "Do I have to take you to the hospital?" Stuff like that. I was like, no, it's all right. I said, "Let me just sleep on it, and we'll talk about it in the morning, okay? I'm really tired, Dad. I'm really tired." So he woke me up the next morning about 7 o'clock, because I got maybe like 2 hours sleep. And he woke me up and he said, "Hey, you're coming to work with me." I was like, "No." He's like, "No, come on. I'm worried about you. I'm really worried about you. You gotta go." I said, "Dad, I'm fine." The entire time, lying through my teeth, because I knew I was gonna go to the bridge and jump.
Hostia,
I said, "Listen, why don't I take the day off and we'll go do something?" And he said, "Nope, I'd rather go to school."
Hostia,
I kissed him goodbye.
O sea, la perspectiva del que se quiere hacer la autoeliminación, wow,
I'll never see him again.
lo dije, es muy bueno este documental. O sea, aparte de interesante, te pone muy mal cuerpo. Aparte de que te ves identificado como a ambos lados.
Talking to myself on the bus. I had stopped before I got on the 28. I had stopped at Walgreens and I bought my last meal, Starburst and Skittles. And went out the bridge. Found a place that I thought, all right, it's not too close to the pillar. I won't hit the pillar. I'll just hit the water. I'll either drown or I'll die on impact, or I'll have a heart attack. So I got there, stood there for like 40 minutes at that spot, just crying my eyes out. Joggers, bikers, runners, tourists, whatever, running by, walking by, looking at me, didn't say anything. That's not their part, it's not their problem, but anyway. And this woman, she came up to me, she said, in a German accent, I think it was a German accent, she said, "Will you take my picture?" I was like, your picture? Woman, I'm gonna kill myself. What is wrong with you? You can't see the tears pouring out my face, but she couldn't. She was on her own hype. So I took the camera, took her picture, said, "Miss, have a nice day." Turned back to the traffic, turned to the bay, said, "Fuck it, nobody cares." Pardon my French. And I hurled over the bridge.
Wow.
See, what most people do apparently is they get on the ledge outside of the bridge and they stand there, and people can talk them out of it, you know, or pull them up or whatever. I didn't want anybody to talk me out of it. I just wanted to die. So I hurtled over the railing with my hands, and I was falling head first. And the second my hands left the bar or the railing, I said, "I don't want to die." I said, "What am I going to do? This is it. I'm dead." So I said, "Well, maybe if I get head or feet first, maybe I'll live." So I thought, all right, it's worth a shot. So my head was falling like this, and I pushed myself back somehow, and I landed literally like I was sitting down, kind of like maybe a little more elevated with the legs, and I hit with my feet. And I guess the water treaded through my boots a little bit, so maybe helped the impact. And the boots are pretty tough, so. And I went down about, I'd say 50 feet. Didn't know which way I was up or down. I was like, am I still alive? Because it's like a 4 to 7 second fall. It's like 120 miles per hour. It's like, I think that's like 7 seconds below terminal velocity, or like the velocity that the downslope skiers get, you know? So, I was awake, I was alive. I was swimming my butt off to get somewhere where there was air. So I reached the surface, I guess I saw some sort of light. And I was screaming for help, but I couldn't really scream. My voice was gone. I couldn't yell. I was like, "Help."
Sí, este sobrevivió. No sé si tuvo lesiones o algo, porque le vimos todo el rato sentado.
I was like, "Oh, great. I didn't die jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. A shark is going to eat me." I was like, this is ridiculous. Years later, I found out, matter of fact, last year, I found out it wasn't a shark. It was a seal circling me, and apparently it was the only thing keeping me afloat. And you cannot tell me that wasn't God, because that's what I believe. And that's what I'll believe till the day I die.
Wow.
I was sitting in my office, and the secretary said that there's someone on the line for you from Marin General Hospital. So I picked up the phone, and a woman said, "Is this Pat Hines, and I said, yes. She said, your son has just jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge. I've lived here all my life. I know what that means. And I said, is he alive? And she said, oh, he is. And I thought that they probably told me that just to keep me calm so that I wouldn't wreck my car driving over to see his mangled body.
I shattered my T12 and my L1, which is my lower lumbar region, into very, very tiny little pieces, and the pieces went into my organs, but they missed my heart.
At this point in time, I mean, I still thought he would be dead. So I went up to this gurney and I looked down and he was wide awake. And he looked up at me and he said, I'm sorry. And then he just closed his eyes and I just stood there staring at him and he was, by that point in time, in a coma.
It was just super scary, you know? I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, to feel it would be like feeling an alien jumping out of your body or something, you know? Like your soul or whatever. It was ridiculous. Just scary. Just really wild.
Joder, ¿eh? O sea, para un salto que se hiciera solamente eso, me parece un milagro, ¿eh?
2004 was a tough year for Kevin. It hasn't been a cakewalk. Kevin's been visited by extreme mental illness 3 times subsequent to his jump off the bridge. The most recent, he was confined for almost 3 months while he struggled and his doctor struggled to get his bipolar bracketed in. And it's a matter of diet, it's a matter of consistency, and it's a matter of proper drug therapy. Kevin will begin to make headway, his life will gain traction, and then he begins to get outside of the brackets into which he can function. And unfortunately, it has taken 3 times now outside, in those outside areas, to convince him, prove to him, more importantly, that he can't go there. And unfortunately for Kevin, it's get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, take your pills at 8, have lunch at noon, if you will, dinner at 6, pills at 9, bed at 10. And that's a very, very difficult existence for a 24-year-old male in this society. But I've told them, it's a wonderful disease to have, Kev, because you can control it. If you had cancer, you wouldn't have the same opportunity. Unlike cancer, Kevin, as long as you stay within these bands, you've got it.
Eso es un poco, son bocazas, ¿eh? Decir ese tipo de comentarios cuando nunca has tenido ningún tipo de enfermedad mental ni cosas así, es un poco de, tío, a lo mejor sería mejor un cáncer que tener ese tipo de enfermedad mental, ¿no? Hay gente que piensa eso.
Or they're scared you're going to go attempt again. And they're always worried, walking on eggshells when they talk to you. It sucks. Because I'm tired of that. I just want them to say, hey, Kev, what's cracking, man? Or, you know, just be real about it. Don't walk on eggshells around me. I'm the same guy. Just different soul, you know? Different ideals. I just want to be normal again, but I never will be.
Hostia. Son palabras duras eso, ¿eh?
We started using crystal meth, and using crystal, just everything started going down the toilet. She lost her job, I lost my job, and we ended up becoming homeless. She has a little easier time letting go of drugs than I do. I have a very addictive personality, and just found out last week that she's been cheating on me again. So I picked up my son, I gave him a hug and a kiss and said goodbye and told her to F off. And then I found myself just walking toward the Golden Gate Bridge. I was crying the whole way, Only thing I kept saying was, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall not fear a thing, because God's with me. So when I got to the halfway point of the bridge, I set my book down, and I jumped over onto the railing. And I just sat there, crying and thinking for a little bit, and the cops showed up. I made the mistake of letting them get to know me too well, because they completely used my son against me.
Actually, I came to the bridge last year at this time to do the same thing, and so it's not a new idea, but kind of one that became a little obsessive, I suppose. How I literally got here today was on an airplane from Houston, Texas. What drew me to it, in spite of having to do so much preparations, is that it is so accessible. To just kind of hop over. But yeah, letting go, that's the tough part. I don't know if people think about that a lot, like the process that a person goes through in trying to decide how to end their life. It's like a search, it's like, looking for a college to attend or something, pros and cons, and it's a destructive act, but there's a lot of, rational thought that goes into an act that a lot of people just consider irrational. In my bag I had my parents' phone number, and I wanted them to know what happened and not just be agonizing over what happened to their daughter for a week or two.
Vale, Claudia.
So I wanted people
Yo no
to
creo
see
que
me
quede
actually
mucho,
do
te lo
it, and
digo
I think
ahora.
I really did
Debe
want
estar a punto de terminar
someone
esto.
Don't do it.
Pues queda un poco, ¿eh? Queda unos 29, 28 minutos más o menos. Yo pensaba que daba menos.
When Jean called me from St. Louis in despair and was going to jump off the bridge there, he said, I'm just calling to say goodbye. It's time.
Lo dicho, ambos documentales están muy bien, son muy impactantes.
On occasion to find
Para mí me parecen dos temas bastante... Este más, pero el primero por el rollo de padre de familia, narco, pero... Y aquí vemos la perspectiva de todos los lados.
He had called me from a bridge back there, and he was...
But he called me first from the train tracks, saying he was going to lay his neck across the train tracks. And because he said things like that all the time, I didn't call him back.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to hear it. You can only hear the same thing so many times and give the same answer so many times, you know, stop being stupid, don't be ridiculous, it gets tiring after a while. You want to hear something different. So I guess when I didn't call him back, he went to the bridge.
Yeah, he had made his way to a bridge. He called me on my cell phone. He told me this relationship that he was pursuing is all falling apart. So I kept him on the phone. I was talking to him. And at one point in our conversation, he said, "Oh, a cop's driving by." And I actually heard the cops stop and ask him, "Hey, you're not going to jump, are you?" And they asked him, "Is everything okay? And are there any problems?" And he's like, "No, not really." And, you know, they decided to leave him alone. And that's when I said, "Look, I'm going to get a ticket for you for the bus, and you're going to come back to California." And I convinced him to do that.
David is very dramatic, boisterous, a life of the party type, playing the piano, singing, you know, really Mr. Party, which is very interesting because I'm not that way at all. And I think part of the reason he liked me was that I didn't ask him to do that, or he didn't feel he had to do that around me.
Sí.
He was a handsome guy. He was
es como
a
decir,
good dresser, and he just
estaré
exuded
mejor
this, which
si
is
no
another
estoy
reason
aquí,
why I
o
guess it's
no
so
quiero, no seré una carga,
shocking to me is that
ya
he
no haré
just
daño a
exuded
nadie.
this joy for life.
Ruby was someone that I was always proud to pull in. So when there's somebody new in my life, or I was dating somebody for a while, I want to bring him over, you know?
One of Jim's favorite things was when he'd see me, said, "Oh, I met a new friend. You've got to meet this person. You just got to meet this person." He had great delight in bringing people together. He really loved people in a, just a very warm personality. At least that's how he was in the beginning.
Before 6 months ago, I would never have said that I thought Ruby had a significant depression problem. I know that he was alone without a source of income. I know his sister had killed herself. I know he had all those variables. Nothing before this last few months of his life indicated to me that he was out of the range of the normal ups and downs that we just don't share all the time.
David came over to Charlie's to have dinner with us, and that's when he told us for the first time he was seriously on medication. But up until that point, apparently he had been self-medicating with alcohol. And although I knew him for 9 years, I could count on maybe 2 times did I see him really drunk.
David would every so often determine that he had to get his life back together, or he would be confronted by me or other friends and start treatment. He took antidepressants for a month and a half or so and made a big show of it. But then in the end, I arranged the labels so that I could see if he'd been picking the bottles up, and he hadn't touched them, didn't touch them for weeks.
So a couple of months before he died, Ruby started talking about he couldn't get over his feelings of losses, and he thought that he might be depressed.
Yo flipo.
But he didn't have any health insurance. So he said, "I want some meds. Got any ideas about how I can get some?" And I had tried some antidepressant meds. They didn't seem to help, and I couldn't sleep on them. So I said, "Okay, okay, listen. Here. You can have mine. But you've got to call a physician for information on how to take them. I can't prescribe, I cannot be responsible.
Eso es lo peor que le puedes decir, hacer o dar.
So, I was going to give him the whole bottle of them in the original bottle, and I thought, what if one day somebody goes into his apartment and is looking through stuff and, finds my name on a bottle of med soap and took them out and I put them in an envelope. It's just a plain envelope.
Madre mía, eh?
It was around November or the fall when Jim lost an enormous amount of money, and he actually made the statement, well, if I don't sell these pots, which were these Japanese ceramics, I'm just going to have to commit harikiri.
When I called him, I said, David, I know you're in trouble. I know you've lost your job, and I want to help you. He stopped because I'd never really said that before because I didn't view him as really in trouble. And he said, I can't talk about this right now because I don't want to cry in the middle of the street. And I thought, oh my God, this is serious. He's really emotionally on the verge of tears.
5 months before he jumped, he had written a note, an email to a couple dozen of his friends saying that he had been contemplating suicide. And a lot of them wrote back to him, and called him. And however, he never mentioned suicide to me, ever. And I just can't fathom the idea of committing suicide. And I just think I thought that he was one of those people who, for him, it just wasn't an option, but apparently it was.
My daughter was leaving for camp, and I said, you know what, let's go to the movies. We went into the theater, and he just put his head in his hands, and he just wept. He just wept in the movie. And I was tearing up a little too, but he was just crying and crying and crying. And he put his hand on my leg. And I said, Ruby, I don't need to be comforted. And he looked at me. I thought, oh my God. Oh no. And I just at that, it was then that I remembered that I put the meds in a plain white envelope a couple months earlier. So we got out of the movie theater and we were walking to his car, and I thought, he's not just depressed, he wants to kill himself. And he said, the meds, I think I can't sleep because of the meds. And I said, I know, I wish I hadn't given them to you because I feel like I made it worse. They had the same effect on me. He said, that's it, actually. I can't sleep. And I'm just up. I can't stop worrying. I just can't turn it off. Not sleeping is what is making me crazy. I'm thinking about killing myself. And I said, I know. I felt it when we were walking to the car. Something was gone. And he said, I'm so ashamed to tell you that I'm thinking about doing this. What would you think of me if I did? And I said, Ruby, I have understood.
Sí, pero se estaba automedicando con un tratamiento de otra persona, a saber. A lo mejor a él le sentaban aún peor. Es que no. La automedicación es chunga. Da lo mismo lo que tengas o no tengas, ¿eh?
He said, well, I'm thinking about different things.
Claro. Y encima antipsicóticos o antidepresivos, perdón.
And that would be horrible. And I thought about the bridge, and I said, you can't do the bridge. Too dramatic. And he said, well, what about people who shoot themselves? And I said, it's too messy, and it's not fair to your landlord. In any way, you are not in the category of people who get to kill themselves. And then he wanted to come over and spend some time.
Ya lo sé, lo que me comentaste.
But I actually I wanted to be by myself. I said, no, can't. But if you feel really desperate, you call me, I'll drop anything. I did say that. So then I got out of my car and went home. And I didn't hear from him actually ever again.
Dios. ¿Serio? Esperemos que no me silencien el director por las melodías, ¿no? Y canciones.
We all know how much all of us who've been close to Jim, how his passing has affected us, whether it's fear that, you might get to that same place and do the same thing, or, just guilt because you felt you weren't a good enough friend, or whatever it is, there is a lot of different reactions. Talking to everybody, there's a lot of different reactions. And I think everyone's trying to make sense of it. And as one, in Jim's particular passing, which, as a friend of mine said, he was warning you, but he was not asking for help.
I thought that he was probably feeling so ashamed, because the theme of that night was, I'm so ashamed I'm telling you this, that I made the mistake of giving him some space to recover. And that was a bad call, I think. I could have 51-50'd him. But also, I didn't want to humiliate him and have him be in a psych facility, because I wasn't sure they were really going to help him, and I didn't want to cross my boundaries. But I will never again not intrude. I won't respect their privacy, and I will not ever again not do something because I'm afraid that they might be embarrassed.
There's obviously a fuzzy line between doing nothing and doing what would have prevented it, and who knows where that line is. He was a grown-up. I couldn't tell him what to do with his life, and I suppose if we had had him locked up or something, then he might still be alive, but I don't blame myself like that. Initially, several of his other friends went out there as a group because they knew the light pole number where he had jumped.
Es un poco morboso, ¿no?
I couldn't go, but a couple of months later, I did go, and it was very difficult. And I'll never be able to sort of drive across the bridge again without some kind of emotional reaction. Something else I'm pissed off at him about. Such a great bridge.
I think the bridge has a romance, a false promise, a false romantic promise to it. Because he's dead. And he doesn't get to benefit from the romanticism of it. He doesn't have any benefit from it. It romanticizes him a bit in the legend, but he doesn't benefit from it. So what if his story has that at the end? He's gone. And so I think there's an empty promise. It's almost like, when alcoholics talk about the romance of the bottle, Like maybe the first sip is really good and everything else is hell. So maybe walking out there, he had a romantic moment or two or an hour. But hitting the water can't be fun. And so I think he felt like a failure, and this was some sort of redemption. I think that it just drew him with this idea of sort of being famous.
Wow, en serio, me está poniendo... Me parece una genialidad, pero me está poniendo muy mal el cuerpo. Porque vemos todas las perspectivas, ¿eh? Por eso veis cómo este documental ha triunfado tanto y a la gente, a mí me parece una obra de arte este documental, ¿eh? Sé que habrá mucha gente que dirá, un documental de autoeliminación, ¿cómo vas a ver eso? Pues hay gente que ha visto este documental y se ha dado cuenta de cosas que no se hubiera dado cuenta si no hubiera visto esto. Porque hay mucha gente que no ha vivido nada de lo que se ha visto aquí. Ni en ellos mismos, ni en personas cercanas.
And I remember when I was walking out the door, last thing I said, I said, cheer up, Gene, I said, everything will work out, and I just jokingly, I said, see you when I get home, love you, and that was it. That was the last thing I ever said to him.
The last thing I ever said to him was a fight.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that he was trying to find a job as hard as he could. And it was making me angry because I knew that he was very smart and he was very capable. And the only thing holding him back was him just not caring. And he had found one of the kids' sidewalk chalk and he was sitting behind Matt's truck and he wrote "End me" on the ground. Like he scratched it in over and over and over. And my son came in and got me and said, why would Gene write that?
Wow. O sea, mirar la desesperación para que el rollo que hiciera eso y lo viera al final al hijo de su amiga.
The Golden Gate Bridge is perfect for him because it's just one easy step and there's no turning back. In hindsight, I almost feel like it was meant to happen. Maybe he's happy now. Who knows? I don't. But yeah, I know he was. He couldn't have lasted much longer, not the way he was going.
But if he would have waited, there was a message on our answering machine from one of the places in Oakland that had offered him a management position, which is what he wanted. They were opening a new GameStop, I think it was.
Whatever, one of the game stores. Places.
And they were going to put him straight into management. And he had an interview the day that he jumped at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And I don't know if he got the message or if he missed it, because I don't know what time he left. He was gone before I got home.
Hostia.
So if he would have either just checked the message or waited.
I couldn't fully cry and I couldn't fully whatever, but the overwhelming emotion was anger. You know, I was extremely pissed. I wanted to drive out to the Bay Area and go to the corner and, you know, get clear. Wake up. Why did you do that? I don't see any reason for people to do that. And Gene had people in this world that loved him. And he hurt them. If I see him again, that's what I want to tell him. He hurt me. And I didn't think he would ever do that.
Disturbed is an interesting word because that's all I can define it as I was disturbed. Now I miss him. Now I'm sad. But at the moment, there was almost, that I got the news, there was almost a sense of relief. That he
No entienden, o sea, no entienden por qué lo hizo. Y no, o directamente no conocían su estado mental en ese momento, por eso hablan así. Como una razón para aceptar lo que hizo es cabrearse con esa persona. Por lo menos a mi entender es eso, creo.
Of feeling disturbed about that situation. I don't know why people kill themselves. And yet, it's a small step to empathize, to say, because I think we all experience moments of despair, that it would just be so much easier not to do this anymore. But for most of us, the sun comes out, and then, oh well, tomorrow is another day.
Por cierto, hemos visto 3 personas, uno que sobrevivió y 2 que evitaron que se suicidara, ¿eh? O sea...
Why he chose the bridge, I don't know. Maybe there's a certain amount of release from pain by pain. Maybe he just wanted to fly one time.
Hostia puta. Caído de cabeza, ¿eh? Se cayó de cabeza, ¿eh? De cabeza, o sea, ese se reventó la cabeza, el cuello, todo. Hostia puta, ¿eh? Guau, ¿eh? O sea, guau, ¿eh? Vale, estos son los 24 personas que se suicidaron, ¿eh? Y esto es un número pequeño, ¿eh? O sea, cada año en ese puente, si yo os digo la verdad, ese puente deberían acorazarlo de alguna manera o hacer que fuera imposible acceder. Porque esto es lo que os comentaba, que es el puente donde han habido más suicidios. Venga, ¿eh? Dios. Vale, quien vea este documental y se quede igual, no es humano, ¿eh? Porque a mí este documental, la primera vez que lo vi, me puso muy mal cuerpo porque lo explican de tal manera y vemos todos los lados y te da a entender de que la desesperación de cada persona que intentara hacer eso o que llegó a hacerlo o cosas así. O el rollo realmente de que realmente existen las enfermedades mentales. Hay mucha gente que cree que es un invento las enfermedades mentales. Y es algo del el pan de cada día de muchas personas, ¿eh? Guau, ¿eh? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué os ha parecido? No voy a decir cuál os ha gustado más. A mí me parecen los dos documentales muy buenos. O sea, a la par. Pero guau, ¿eh? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué os ha parecido este último documental? Por cierto, no he preparado más, ¿eh? Ahora nos quedaremos un rato si queréis comentando algo por encima. Y poco más, ¿eh? Al final ha sido más tiempo de lo que yo esperaba. Yo pensaba que serían 2 horas y media. Me alegro y espero que si hay alguien que realmente piense que es una tontería lo de las enfermedades mentales o lo de gente que se ha suicidado o cosas así, espero que viendo esto le haga cambiar un poco su forma de pensar, ¿eh? Vale, Claudia, un besito, descansa. Muy buenas, Nori. Hoy hemos visto 2 documentales que te recomiendo que te veas, Nori, ¿eh? Son 2 documentales. No te voy a hablar de ellos. Como mucho, si quieres, te digo cómo se titulan. Pero son 2 documentales que te van a impactar, ¿eh? Son muy... wow, ¿eh? Polémicos ambos documentales. Lo dicho, Claudia. Descansa, buenas noches, hablamos mañana. ¿Qué tal, Nori? ¿Cómo ha ido el día? Vale, lo dicho. Impactante, ¿eh? Este más, ya lo he dicho, eran 2 documentales bastante polémicos, que se han hablado mucho de ellos. Guay, Nori, pues lo dicho, yo te recomiendo que te los veas, ¿eh? Si no, igualmente voy a intentar a ver si YouTube no me dice nada y subir este directo y poco más. Hoy lo vamos a dejar por aquí en breve. Si queréis nos quedamos un ratito, depende de la gente que haya, y nos quedamos un rato charlando. Si no, lo voy a dejar, pues no sé ni cuánto. Este que acabamos de ver se llama The Bridget. Es de 2006. Te voy a hablar un poco de qué va. Va de el puente de San Francisco Golden Gate. Es de los puentes que han habido más suicidios y va de eso. Vemos todas las perspectivas de personas que han acabado con su vida en ese puente. Y el primer documental es concretamente uno titulado que se llama Don't Come Upstairs, que la traducción al castellano sería No subas las escaleras. Es un documental de 2025 de un cineasta que era un actor adolescente de una serie canadiense, que habla de los secretos que tenían sus padres hacia sus hijos. Y poco más. No te voy a meter más spoilers porque... Y poco más. Yo igualmente, ya sabéis, os pondré los enlaces en el Discord. Y poco más. A ver, son muy polémicos ambos documentales, ¿eh? Por eso los he elegido y porque estaba seguro que ni Dios los conocía. Ni Dios los conocía. Si los conocéis, es que habéis visto los últimos vídeos del canal de YouTube Bicho 14. Yo hace tiempo que quería traer estos documentales, pero lo he dicho. Y poco más. Vale, dejarme que voy a mirar a ver cuántos somos. Voy a cerrar. Y nos vamos a ir despidiendo. Me sabe mal, Nori. Si no quieres que te explique un poquito más de los documentales, pero es que si te cuento más, te explico ya toda la historia. Yo te recomiendo mucho que te los veas, ¿eh? No es el típico documental este último que te van a entrar ganas de hacerte la automorición, podríamos decir. Es muy claro, directo y ves todas las perspectivas de la persona que se ha hecho la autoeliminación y cosas así, ¿no? Pues nada, lo vamos a dejar por aquí, somos muy pocos. No voy a hacer raid y estoy cansado. Aparte son las 12:30 casi y no he comido todavía. He cenado, perdón. Poco más. Lo que digo siempre, si os ha molado el directo, seguirnos por aquí, por Twitch, por YouTube y por Twitter, siempre por el mismo nick. Mazmorra Doxa, se agradecería un poquito de feedback en vuestras redes sociales, cuantos más mejor, aunque siempre estéis los mejores. Y lo que siempre al final del directo, que me da muchísimo reparo y que no hay ninguna obligación como el hecho de seguirnos. Se aceptan donaciones por chirriazos, vitazos, suscripciones y donaciones por PayPal. Todo el dinero que ganamos por aquí lo utilizamos para ampliar el equipo y el contenido. Y poco más. Buenas noches, descansad. Nos vemos hoy martes. Tocará película de ciencia ficción. No tengo ni idea qué voy a traer, pero poco más. Nos vemos y... Deu.